If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited today to go to Texas with our guest on the line, Al Micallef, who owns and is the founder of Jamak.com and Jamak Enterprises, which is a big manufacturer. And welcome to Green is Good, Al.
Well, thank you for having me.
Al, Mike and I have reviewed your history, and you are an entrepreneurial, besides ecopreneur rock star. I don't want to walk through your resume. I want you to walk our listeners through where you've been and where you're going, because truly it's a fascinating story. Besides being in the ranching business, owning CF Ranch Land and cattle company, you are also obviously in the windshield wiper blade business and other great industries. So we're going to want you to go through it. So I want to just start from the beginning. How did you end up where you are today in beautiful Texas, with your wonderful and massive cattle company, and where are you going from here? Start from where you started.
Well, I was born in Michigan, which I don't tell most people, and I built a crystal set when I was a little kid. Most of your listeners probably don't know what that is, but it's a little radio type receiver that needs no electricity. But the only station I could get was the Del Rio station in Texas, because it was located. The aerial was in Mexico, and of course it put out 50,000 watts, and I could receive that in Michigan. So when I was a young kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old, I thought I lived in Texas. I mean, nobody could tell me anything different. And when I found out that I didn't, I had a lifelong dream of moving to Texas, and I had taken over, when I was in my 20s, kind of a bankrupt rubber company. And I moved it to Texas and began to work on it, and we built a very nice, we're the largest silicone manufacturer in the world.
Wow.
And we built that company from, the shambles of a Michigan organization.
Wow, that is. And when did you start, thinking about green? Being in the silicone business, which I don't know much about, but when did you also start thinking about your core industry, which you were massively successful in, and also the environmental opportunities that were out there?
Well, I mean, I've been ranching for about 25, maybe 30 years.
Okay.
And when I first got involved in ranching, I realized that there was something lacking with respect to, in many cases, a respect for the land and the resource. The only resource that ranching people really have is grass and water. And if you don't take care of those, then you have a real deficiency in your operation. And, of course, today there are many other income streams that can be developed in a ranching environment. But the most important thing is to take care of that land. And we ranch in West Texas, which most people think is desert, but we're in the mountains at Alpine, Texas. My ranch house is in the caldera of a volcano, and we're ranching at 5,000 feet, and the mountains around us go as high as 8,000. It's very beautiful country. But when I got there, and I'm a helicopter pilot also, so I fly all over the state and all over the country, and realize that in many cases, and it's getting better, but in many cases, ranchers use the land in probably not an efficient manner, but more importantly, they used it as a massive junkyard, which just didn't set well with me. So I set up, and we ran about 14,000 head of cattle and 156,000 acres. And every ranch that I bought, we had to get in there and spend sometimes a year cleaning it and restoring it as best we could. And so I got very interested in the preservation of the beauty of our country. Wow. And then it just moved into our product area and into our manufacturing operations. I think it's just, I wouldn't be called a tree hugger, or I wouldn't be called, a green person, but everything we do is to preserve nature or try to preserve the resources that we have. I think it's just good business practices.
And you're a capitalist, which that's what's made this country great. And you're a capitalist who cares about the environment. That's all good, and that's amazing.
Yeah, and we all should. I mean, we absolutely all should, because none of us are. Most of us are disgusted if we're at a river or a lake or a park, and it's abused with litter, or just the land's generally abused. None of us want that.
Absolutely,
but none of us think about it. The green movement in that way, but that's what it really is. It probably shouldn't be called the green movement.
Right.
It should have a name that depicts that we're just caring for our land.
Yep. We agree with you. We agree 100%. And so your cattle, your cattle meat is sold as a certain brand. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's that? What's the brand?
Well, it's called the CF Ranch beef brand, and we use it in our restaurants as well as sell it, to other people.
And you have restaurants all across the United States?
No, we do, but we don't have that many restaurants. The restaurants were kind of an accidental business for us. When I moved to Alpine, Texas, where our ranch is located, our ranch headquarters is located, it was kind of a gastronomical wasteland. And so I opened a restaurant so I would have a place to eat and entertain. And it got to be immensely popular throughout the state. And now a few years ago, we were voted the best restaurant in Texas.
Wow.
And we're probably the leading restaurant in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Come on, that's a great story. Talk about, everything. When they talk about entrepreneurs, for all listeners out there, we have young listeners and we have listeners from all cross sections, but so many young entrepreneurs listen. Talk about a guy with a Midas touch, Al. You've got that Midas touch. Let's talk about your manufacturing. When you bought this bankrupt rubber company, what made you? Was it part of your education, part of your background, or just an opportunity that you saw? What made you choose to get involved with silicone technology?
Well, I wish I could tell you that I had great foresight, but what it really was is, when I found out about the properties of silicone with respect to the abundance of the raw material, because it's made from sand, and it's and there's plenty of sand in this world, and then I realized that it had great massive heat stability and also cold stability. Every aircraft that we get into that goes to any altitude has to have silicone gasketing. And then I realized that this sounded to me like a product that had longevity, and that would just get more and more used as technology got more and more intense. Car engines, you and I could, when we were younger, could, open the hood of a car and put your hand on it, but today, they're running 300, 350, 400 degrees.
Right. And
the rubber components in there have to be able to withstand that temperature.
Gotcha. So what was then the opportunity when you saw that, okay, the world has plenty of sand, you saw some silicone technology, what was on your mind then? What was your epiphany or your aha moment?
Well, I just thought the number of applications that this product could be adapted to. And also, we even back during the first oil crisis we had, all other rubbers are made from petroleum. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? Petroleum is going to get costlier and costlier. There's no way around that. Eventually, as the supply shrinks, it's a commodity. It's a supply and demand. And raw materials are going to get more and more expensive. Now, if we have a raw material that outperforms organic products, and also has a stable source, then you might have a future with the product.
Gotcha.
And so we took the product, and we've been inventors of a lot of different products that are silicone. For example, I grew up with my car leaking oil in my driveway. Well, we developed those silicone seals that eliminated that oil pan leak.
Wow.
Oven door gaskets didn't seal very well. You got a lot of heat transferred into the kitchen. Well, silicone was the only gasketing material that would withstand that 450 degrees while you're baking. And, in lighting gaskets, when people switched to mercury vapor or high-intensity lighting, then they had a gasket issue. So we continually convert wiper blades is one of our major products, and our green blade obviously is a silicone blade. And the problem is you get blades in the sun. They have an ozone issue. After a year, they don't work very well. And in California, you run them every once a year, and you realize that I can't see out the window. Well, silicone is inert. It absolutely is unaffected by heat or light, ozone, or any of the things that affect drivers all over the country. And we have our wiper blades have a lifetime. As long as you own the car, if that blade doesn't perform, we'll replace it free of charge.
Well, let's talk about that for a little. And for those of you who just joined us, we're just so excited to be on the phone today with Al Micallef of Jamak. And Jamak, you could look up at www.jamak.com and look at all of Al's amazing products that we're just talking about just now. Talk a little bit, walk our listeners through the superiority. I've had the chance to be through your website. Mike's on your website right now while we're on the phone with you. Share with our listeners why they're superior products and why you've got your company is such a leader.
Well, here's the fallacy that Americans are faced with when it comes to green products. Okay.
Yep.
In my opinion, a green product is a product that you can use and return it back to its natural state for reusing.
Right.
If you have a tire and everybody says it's recyclable. Yeah, you can recycle it into a floor mat,
right?
But you can't make it back into a tire.
Good point.
So that circle of reusing raw materials is broken the first time it's used.
Right.
But with silicone, I actually developed the process to take raw or cured out silicone, a product or part, and convert it back into a rubber polymer that can be returned into the same product over and over and over again.
Wow.
And so, to me, that's a recyclable or a green product.
That's right.
Because if you had 100 pounds of silicone in the world, you would have 100 pounds 1,000 years from now.
Perfect. Well said. We got you. So it's an infinite recyclable, just like aluminum or copper or gold is.
Exactly. That's the example I was going to use. You get an aluminum can, you can turn it back into aluminum.
That's right. Wow, I never knew this. Mike and I are sitting here; our mouths are open. So this is fascinating. So your products, these great windshield wiper blades, for instance, triple edge, triple green, Armor All E blades, all these can be turned back into more blades if you capture them back.
Yes, and then of course you remove the blade, that can be turned into silicone. The steel frame can be turned back into steel.
Right.
The paper or the box or packaging we use no plastic. We can take that package and turn it back into a package again.
Got it.
That's our whole approach to our product line.
Got it. Well, that is, and so all your products are all these triple edge and these E blades and things like that. Are there other silicone products that you manufacture?
Oh yeah, all the spark plug boots that fit, and we do about 100 million of those a year. Those little boots that fit on your spark plug.
Right.
All the gasketing and seals. A lot of that product either was invented by us or that we supply today.
Wow.
Our customer base is, Chrysler, Ford, Delphi, all the major, all the tier one suppliers of gas, or all the tier one users of gaskets and seals are generally customers of ours.
Wow, that is just. And so let's step back for a second. You do this manufacturing in what state?
We do it in Texas.
In Texas.
Yeah.
And what other ways besides manufacturing these great silicone products that are infinite recyclable, which something I just learned right here on the show with you? What other ways is your company green in terms of what other practices internally do you guys engage in to be a green company that takes care of the environment, like you mentioned with your wonderful cattle company?
Well, John, what my mission is we try, and especially today with what's going on in the auto industry and in the country in general, we try to get as close to the consumer as we can. Because and there's nothing wrong with this, but if you sell to the big box stores, the Walmarts of the world, and you're pretty much a victim of their marketing program.
Sure.
But if you can get your products with a minimal amount of middlemen, so to speak, to the consumer, you can give them greater value, and you also could have a stronger profitability for yourself and your employees.
That's right.
I'll give you one quick example.
Sure.
Wiper blades is one we've been talking about.
Yep.
We have a program called Wipe Your Glass. Now, every time you get a chip in your windshield or you have to have your windshield replaced, you really need to replace your wiper blades. Because, as that wiper blade crosses over that crack or chip, it's destroying that wiper blade.
Gotcha.
So when they put in or repair that or put in a new windshield, they should be replacing your wiper blades. We've developed a program now that we're hoping to go national with it, where every glass manufacturer that we can convince that he needs to do this will replace your windshield and also ask you to replace your wiper blades. So that, none of us, unless we go to the dealership and pay $100 to have our wiper blades replaced.
Right.
You can pay the guy that puts in that windshield for you, $20 and have your windshield, have your wiper blades replaced.
Right.
And none of us like to open that bag and fool with those 800 adapters that they put in the wiper blade that I'm in the business and I can't figure out. So and so it's a great service, and so that's a step getting closer. One other business that we've developed here in the last few years because of what's been going on is all of us are have children or neighbor kids that live next door,
right,
or nieces or nephews, and they're always bringing us chocolate bars in gift wrap and cookie dough, for us to help their program.
Sure.
Well, we brought out an entire line of very usable products for the consumer. So when that kid comes to your door and says, "Mr. Micallef or John, would you buy this because I'm raising money for my school?"
Right.
You look through the catalog and you say, "Hey, I could use that hot pad, or I could use that wiper blade, or I could use a variety of products instead of just buying 40 candy bars and sitting there eating them all winter long."
Right.
And so here's what we've taken our product out of a retail store and giving 50% of the proceeds of that product to the school, and we're still making a good return.
Wow.
So that's another avenue. I'll tell you another interesting product that the wine industry has had a terrible time in the last 10 years keeping up with quality corks for wine.
Right.
And there's not a person out there that hasn't, broken a cork inside the bottle and pushed it in and got cork dust and grime in their wine. Well, we developed a silicone wine cork that has all the performance capabilities of high-end natural cork, but will not break, will not ever crack, and has the same oxygen transmission as a high-end natural cork, and it looks like a cork. And so you're not not paying $100 for a bottle of wine, and the waiter drives over and unscrews it for you, with a screw cap. We still give you the experience without having the product look like a bottle of Jiffy Lube or something.
Al, this is a perfect time to segue. You are unbelievable. You're a serial entrepreneur with massive success already in your rearview mirror, but you're constantly reinventing other legacy technologies for the better, or you're finding voids in the marketplace and filling those voids. So as a true entrepreneur, a true American entrepreneur, what drives you to find, it's obviously not money anymore, so what drives you to find these new opportunities?
I think it's just an innate curiosity about how business works, and also it's the challenge of surviving in an economy with giants. My goal for the next 10 years of my life is for some of those, and they're customers of ours, but I would like O'Reilly's or Pep Boy or Walmart to wake up one morning and say, "Geez, what the heck happened to our wiper blade business?" and we've taken some market share because we're selling directly to the consumer.
Gotcha.
And because today, when 30 or 40 years ago, we could develop a product and begin to distribute it regionally. And if you got successful, you could go to 4 or 5 states, and then you could go national. Well, today, out of the box, if you want to sell a product, you've got to go to a buyer in Chicago that cares less about who you are or the area. You've got to convince him that he needs to carry this product in all 6,000 of his stores, which is nearly impossible.
Right.
If you're a small operator.
That's right.
I mean, if you're PepsiCo, where you control a market, or Coca-Cola,
sure,
or you're Rain-X, or whatever, you can bundle products,
right,
and say, look at here's our 25 products that we have, and you got to have them. I mean, you cannot have an automotive store if you don't have Armor All, for example.
Right.
You could have some off-brand, but the point is you've got to figure out ways to survive with the giant corporations of the world.
You're right.
And that arena gets smaller and smaller every day. The consolidation that takes place every day. I'm always shocked when I see a company being acquired, and then I see all the other companies that they own. You just cannot believe it.
Right.
When you look at Clorox. Clorox owns a lot of car care products.
Gotcha.
And they own Armor All. I mean, it's just amazing.
Right. You travel. I know you travel a lot, both in the United States and I'm sure around the world. Where are we as a country with regards to other countries, with regards to this whole greening of America and the green technologies that exist? Are we behind? Are we ahead? Are we on par? What's your thoughts on that?
I honestly, I think in most cases we're the only reasonably honest country when it comes to the green product area.
Gotcha.
Because there's a lot of lip service by a lot of countries who refuse to have any kind of verification or have any kind of standard set with respect to air pollution and things like that. But they run around touting green, but they're talking and not acting. We have a somewhat of a genuine movement here, and some areas of it are ridiculous, but the majority of it is valid, and people try, and our consumers really try and really work at the recycling aspect, and the awareness about the fragility of our climate or our ecosystem. Most of us are well aware of it, or I shouldn't say most of us. A lot of us are well aware of it, and certainly the young people are more aware than we were.
Well, that you bring up, we're down to the last minute or so, and I want you to share what are your thoughts on the next generation, the young people, and where this country is going to go as we pass the baton and you pass the baton on to them.
Well, one of the things that and I believe in very strong education for people.
Right.
But as long as we can keep an environment that rewards success, if we don't have the best educational system in the world, we will overcome that because of the innate curiosity of man and to learn what they're doing and how they're working. I don't know that, I don't know if a day goes by that I don't learn something new about the world and the opportunities we have, that I didn't obviously learn that in 8th grade somewhere or college. In fact, our institutions we move so quickly as a society that, and as from a technology standpoint, our universities don't have a chance of keeping up with that. What needs to be taught that would have value in today's market.
Wow. Well, Al, we're at the end today, but we're going to have you back again another day, and you've just been a delight and an inspiration to Mike and myself and our listeners out there. For those who want to buy Al's great products, please support what he's doing because, look, we just learned today that his products are all infinite recyclable. They're made out of silicone. You could go to his website, www.jamak.com, JAMAK.com. Al Micallef, you are a visionary entrepreneur and ecopreneur, and truly living proof that green is good.
John and Mike, thank you for the opportunity.